I'm not too sure how me and you actually met. I think it was through Lewis, through the men's group, right?
It was, yeah, he contacted me and was inspired by the posts on my page and said he felt like I would be a good fit in the men's group. So I
Yeah.
joined. And when you spoke about how you were wanting to do more healing for your internal child self, and I commented on an aspect of echo breathing that you can utilize to further that progression.
Yeah, and we had a little chat, didn't we? And it's a thing that anyone can implement um, throughout the day. But yeah, I just want to say, just while we're live, just thanks again for joining and taking your time out of your day to speak to me. Been really blown away with doing these podcasts. I've had a lot of people reach out that want to speak the truth. So I really didn't know what to expect, but this is the one that I was looking forward to because through that interaction in the men's group, whether it was intuition or whatever, um, I generally had a really good feeling about you. And I feel like personally, I can learn a lot from yourself and we can all learn from each other. But I think there's certain souls that come into your lives where I don't know, your heart just kind of feels that energy. It's like this person feels like a good soul. Does that make sense?
It does. The warmth that you feel is kind of the
Yeah,
sensation I get with those people. So,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I definitely feel that. So, thank you, brother. I feel the same way about you. I feel like you had a lot of experience throughout your life, and you're just coming out through your cocoon into your real self. And the
Yeah,
progression that you're on via the podcast, it's only starting. It's going to continue
it
further and faster.
it is. Yeah, yeah. I couldn't have worded it better myself. I am coming out of my cocoon, and it feels great. Tracy's saying, "I love your glasses and headpiece." We'll talk about that because I want to ask him about that as well. But
Thank
I guess I would just like to start with going back, like your experience. What made you get into breath work? Because for those who don't know, you're a certified breath work, however you would name it, specialist, alchemical breathwork guide, a breathwork
you.
coach. So how did you get into that, and what was your experience with that?
Yeah, so my name is Dual, aka the Eternal Breath. I'm a breath guide or breath practitioner through Alchemy Breath Ministries. And we actually don't call it breath work. We call it breath sessions or conscious breathing, just due to the fact that the word work, like how we were talking about with etymology, the origin of words,
Mm,
and how people use work in modern day can be a more stressive sort of word. So using breath sessions or breath journeys, because truly connecting with your breath is a journey and allowing that to flourish from there. And my personal breath journey, technically, before I became certified and did alchemy breath, I was actually doing it since I was a young boy, about like 12, between like 8 and 12. I was tapping into the breath on my own time. I didn't really talk about it to people much, whether it was at night, learning how to slow my heart via my breath and get that to like one pulse a minute,
wow.
where it was barely even there. Whether it was going to gym class and learning certain breath patterns that would help me further my progression in gym, such as utilizing the exhale to jog so I could jog more steadily and get into my flow state. And then later in life, I was guided to alchemy breath actually at a super low point when I was homeless. Actually, I was already utilizing meditation, but I was searching for other ways that I could get out of being homeless rather than just using the physical world, because I had 3 jobs at that time and was sleeping in a bush. So I had already been following my breath guide, which is Devon, the Black Airbender. And this guy was just always talking about the breath, the breath, the breath, the breath. And I was just like, okay, I'm just going to listen to this guy on a live and tap in. And from that point forward, I've just always been utilizing alchemy breath. And from what it's taught me and what it's brought me, I've in turn gained my passion and a sense of my purpose of bringing that to other people as well.
Wow. So it initially started, so you had, at 12 years old, you started just, was it intuition? Or did one of your parents or something tell you about it?
No, no, it's definitely intuition. Just I guess in a sense, I've always been guided, which we won't go too much into that, but it was definitely intuition of just utilizing the breath and realizing certain things that I can do. And really the first one was stopping my heart and realizing and not even really talking to people about it, but demonstrating it to people that I could slow down my heart to where they couldn't hear it and then stop it. And people would be like, whoa, what's going on? And then I'd start it back up again. So,
Wow. And that was all essentially at the start. It sounded like it was just all self-taught as well, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it wasn't, I didn't bring it to people at that time until later in life.
Yeah. That is so cool. I mean, so it obviously has helped you a lot. I'm sure it was probably a great tool when you said you were at one of your low points, being homeless. You want to touch on that a little bit, or?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. The breath is, so technically I'm a breath student. I will always be a student of the breath. And the breath taught me ways and gave me strength to get out of being homeless. And it was certain things within Devon's teachings that showed me how to do it, which was
Yeah.
like echo breathing was actually one of them, was echoing into certain spaces before I got there and utilizing the power of my breath to attract things to me and to attract more opportunities to me. So, for example, there was one time at the time when I was homeless, nobody knew I was homeless. I was doing it by myself. People, I guess people knew I was homeless, but people at my job in my job area didn't know because I was just grinding to get out of it. And so one day I breathed life into getting more opportunity and more ways to get more money and save because it's hard to do that when you're homeless. And
Yeah.
I went to work and we were having a sort of party and this guy approached me and he was like, okay, are you homeless? I saw you in the park walking this last Saturday and I saw you with your bag and everything. And he did it in a very kind way off to the side away from everybody. I told him my situation and everything, and he handed me a couple $100 and told me good job for grinding and everything like that. And he hopes I make it out of it. And then from there, somehow my boss found out and she helped me find places to live and everything like that. And other people started to find out as well and started offering me places to live. And so it was just like this huge ripple effect from just that one instance of breathing life into opportunity and more money that brought more people into my vicinity that were willing to give and help me. And which, if you've ever been homeless, that is what people need who've been homeless or who are homeless, is those opportunities and support systems to get out of it, which I already knew I didn't have.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I want to touch on that a little bit because there is a lot of stigma about people who are homeless, and whenever, just like as a personal example, whenever, and this has just been a recent thing in the last few months, whenever we go to a grocery store, because there is homeless. I mean, homeless people are everywhere now, right? It's sad, and we even just giving them like a, a, a bag of bananas or something that can like really change someone's life.
Huge.
And the stigma, I feel like there's a lot of judgment behind someone who's homeless, but I just, yeah, I've never been in that situation before. I couldn't imagine what it would be like. So yeah, hats off to you, man. I think because this is going to be pushed on YouTube as well. I think this is going to inspire a lot of people. Is there anything that you would say to anybody maybe watching this in the future that is homeless, that is having a bit hard time? You would suggest them looking into breath work, or?
Yeah, I'll actually give a thing that I utilize to get out of it, which is organ breathing. What you can do is I actually do this with homeless people all the time, since it helps me get out of it, is you take a glass mason jar and you can, of course, write affirmations or anything like that. But anytime you get coins, receipts, anytime you get cash or anything like that, you can put that into the jar and then breathe with intention into the jar that you're accepting more of that or better into your life. And essentially, just like this right here, how it's organ plated and it's transferring more life energy into my body, you're transferring your life energy into that body and encapsulating it. And then that will in turn magnetize that oxygen, that intention to you, and you'll start to receive and accept more of that into your life. And that can be with anything, whether it's affirmations, whether it's certain things that you want to manifest and things like that.
Yeah.
And that will greatly produce a ripple into your life for the things that you're searching for. And that, whether it is that you run into a homeless person who doesn't have money or who doesn't have receipts or coins like that, whether if it's giving them the mason jar and handing them a receipt and telling them about this thing, and then also, of course, giving them whatever else that you're willing to give at that time, that can inspire them to at least try, because they're already at their lowest at that point. So giving them something that can uplift their journey is huge, is very big.
Yeah, I just got the chills a little bit. There's a little bit of a synchronicity there, because what you said there, when people are at their lowest, they are willing to try. And I've noticed, and I was speaking with my friend yesterday, he's very comfortable where he's at, but he's still craving that deeper connection. And only they can do it themselves, right? It's down to their own responsibility, individual responsibility, to pursue whatever it is, to seek on that deeper level. But for me, it really did. I was quite low in my life, or in my mental state, for me to actually try out these things for myself to see if they actually work, you know.
One thing that I always say is that when people are at their lowest, they're at their greatest openness to change.
Yeah.
And some people, when they're at that lowest point, that's when community and love and empathy is very big, because they have already been denied or pushed away or not accepted by their closest loved ones and friends. So when you can come along as somebody that's random and bring your light to them and spark that internal light of themselves to then in turn uplift them, that can create a huge ripple in life. And it goes beyond just that first interaction too, because sometimes there's a precipice when you're homeless, and most people feel it, which I felt. If I wouldn't have got out of being homeless, it would have been almost impossible to get out. So that continued support and support systems after that point is very big, because like most people, they say like to get a job, all you got to do is show up for the interview. And then of course homeless people give that rebuttal of, well, I don't have a phone, I don't have a shower, which is true. Where is someone going to shower when they don't have a home? How is someone going to get in contact with when they don't have a phone? But also the fact of like food, how often am I going to be able to gain food to have the energy for my work? Where am I going to store the food that I need, such as meat and everything, which is one thing for me that personally forced me to go vegan, because I couldn't store meat anywhere. Like unless it was the winter, I could put it in my bush and hide it under some snow and keep it cold. But then where was I going to heat that up during the day? So obviously vegetables and fruits last a lot longer and can last a couple weeks. So it forced me to actually go vegan. And of course, with the breath, pushed me away from being a carnivore and leading that path. So, you know, when you're meeting those people, if you find someone who's open, you know, open your hearts to sitting down with them, seeing where they're at, seeing if they're even open to getting to that point of getting out of homelessness, and what you can do for them from that point forward.
And I want to touch a little bit about, so you mentioned about being vegan. Do you think that's had any kind of effects on you? Because me personally, like, we eat meat, but we want to cut back. And I hate to say it, but there was one point in my life where I would have meat like 3-4 meals a day. Back when I was ego, Liam needs to get massive big guns, need my protein. But that's in the past now. But I am kind of leaning more towards less is actually more. So do you want to talk about your experience with that?
Yeah, so during that time, I had about a month where, of course, I didn't have any obligations to anybody or anything like that. So I was tapping into the breath. And I remember I ate chicken about a week prior, and I was just deep into my breath work every single day, every night doing breath work, a breath journey, every rising, doing it all day long. And I remember when I defecated, the feeling and the thing that completely switched is when I went to the bathroom and I defecated. I actually felt like a pop in my brain, a release of fog. And it felt like the first time I could ever think, like fully and completely remember things like instantaneously. And my first thought was like, oh, this is how we're actually supposed to think. And from that moment forward, I haven't gone back to eating meat because of that feeling. And of course, from then, it's been my own journey of realizing what's good for my body, what I like to eat, and how to bring nutrition in. And of course, all the conspiracy theories and the truth within nitric oxide combustion within the body of how we synthesize proteins and where proteins actually come from, and the lies about protein and amino acids, and realizing that the breath is the true catalyst and carrier of those proteins to your muscles, to your brain, to your body, and how to utilize that via whatever diet that you're on to bring you into a deeper state of harmony within yourself, no matter where you're at.
Wow.
No.
Yeah.
And so actually recently, go ahead.
No, sorry, continue.
And so recently, for a couple of years, I was vegan, and more recently, I've been more so eating a lot less. Like this past week, every day I had a bottle of coconut water, one smoothie, and then like 5 peanuts. And then I would do the rest of my day. Otherwise, I usually fast about 16 to 17 hours a day and then eat once.
That's amazing, man. Yeah. Hats off to you with the fasting journey. I know I see Daniel in the chat. Me and him were talking about fasting, and it feels really liberating actually. I haven't done it for more than 24 hours, but I want to build up, and just that first bite of food felt so good. Very mindful, very mindful. But yeah, like less is more. And today I've had a smoothie, some eggs. I feel great, and an apple. I feel great. And the old me would have been like, oh, that's not enough. You need more protein, you need more carbs. I'm like, you don't really, Yeah,
it's definitely a journey. The body, it's not good to just stop and go into complete fasting. You definitely have to train your body to get used to living more off of pranic energy and utilizing your breath and certain tools in your atmosphere to bring you more life force to your cells, to your muscles, and to your blood flow. So your body knows a different way of eating, such as like frequency, of course. With Curling photography, we know that meat has less life force energy or biophotons within it than an apple. So knowing that an apple can actually bring you more life force energy and pure energy within it of itself than a steak would. And knowing how to use that chemical combustion within your body, which is technically what your body does with foods, to be less in eating and more in chronic living.
Yeah, so I want to touch on that as well, because I'm pretty fairly new, just as you were saying, coming out of my cocoon, getting to know breath work, getting to know all these different tools. And I heard that as a child, like most children breathe from their lower stomach. That's how they breathe. And through whatever reason, adults breathe through their chest, or for the most part, majority of them. Do you want to touch on that? Like what causes that? Why isn't that more effective for people? How should they be breathing?
Well, so technically, if you watch a baby even when they're sleeping, you'll see that their belly goes completely huge. It's called the baby belly, right? And then it goes in and out, and they're constantly breathing into their belly because the belly is known as the synagogue of energy, or the ocean of energy. Of course, that's where all of our food goes and everything like that. So it's just a huge storage space of where energy goes. So when we are diaphragmically breathing or belly breathing, we're breathing more of that cosmic energy, more of that electrons, more carbon, more nitric oxide into our abdomen. So the chemical combustion can be more efficient for moving foods and everything like that. And as we grow up, we tend to more chest breathe because of subconscious impressions of other people. The subconscious impressions of how we see our parents breathe. They continue to see their parents breathe with their chest, and their parents breathe with their chest. And as you're watching those, you don't always have control over what your subconscious is taking in. So you're taking in that view and you think that that's correct because these are the people that are guiding you. So you in turn start to chest breathe as well. And it takes some time and some effort and consistency to rewire that back into knowing that your belly is where you want to breathe. And even beyond that, some people don't even breathe with their chest. Some people breathe into their brain. I don't know if you've ever heard about that, but they're like brain breathes, where all of their breath is staying up here, isn't going down, and that can cause people to go kundalini and stuff like that.
No, I've never heard of that before. Wow,
Yeah,
that
breath
is.
goes deep.
Sorry.
I said the breath goes deep.
It does, and yeah, I was last time we had a chat. I was telling you about my experience. It was with a somatic breathwork session. But for those who don't know, you actually you teach those sessions in person as well, don't you? Like physically.
I only teach somatic breath sessions in person just due to box breathing. The type of somatic release that most people teach isn't technically a somatic release. It's actually the mechanism for the body protecting itself from a blackout and from deprivation from CO2. You know, when we are box breathing, or the way that people utilize it is the quick inhales, quick exhales, and then they'll breathe in for a really long time, and then they'll hold their breath. And that actually builds up that CO2 and isn't good for metabolic absorption. And when you release that energy, your body didn't have time to move it throughout the body, so it's causing spasms throughout the body, which isn't technically a somatic release. And that's why sometimes you see people pass out, is because their body protects them from oxygen deprivation and allows them to breathe for a moment so the body can reset itself. And so for me personally, since I do parasympathetic breath work, I only do those in person just because of how deep the somatic release can go.
Yeah.
And of course, the support of my breath connecting to my client's breath as well.
Yeah. I love it.
So,
Before I want to touch on the sort of metaphysical, physical effects of the breath. But before we do that, how this is kind of moving away from breath work a little bit, but how do you sort of view reality? Because for me personally, I think everything is paradoxical, right? Everything is has a paradoxical effect in this universe. But through my own experience, it really is starting to feel like my conscious awareness, my focus on my thoughts are showing up in this 3D. So how do you view reality, or your reality?
oof.
I know that's a bit of a big one.
I won't give the full explanation, but I do view reality as a sort of animism, in the sense that everything is living, everything is alive, everything, no matter where it's inanimate or animate, has a soul and is breathing, because everything is a frequency, right? So nothing is truly still. And within that stillness, that frequency itself has a pulse. And within that pulse is where the breath comes from. And so by realizing this is a sense of knowing that you are equal to and unto every being that you meet, and that every person deserves compassion and love, and to breathe life into the harmonious progression of everything and everyone that you see, no matter how bad or indifferent from yourself that they seem, allowing the breath to guide you onto viewing them as yourself to further uplift the progression of humanity. Because everything is breathing, everything is breath. Specifically Yahweh, you know, the word for God is YHWH. So as you in turn start to see that YH technically in ancient times was your inhale, and WH is your exhale. So technically everybody is breathing in God with their inhale and their exhale, and seeing that reflection in within every being in your daily life.
Yeah, I've heard that before. I've heard someone explain that before. Yeah. So does that also account for things like, for example, trees?
100%. Yeah, trees actually breathe at the frequency of 528. So a frequency, a type of breath work that you can do with, or a breath journey you can do with trees, is to go to a tree, sit next to it, and on your exhales, you'll breathe out 5, and then breathe in 1 inhale, breathe out 2, breathe in 1 inhale, and breathe out 8. And do that consistently for a month, and you and that tree will build a relationship that's beautiful. And that will echo into your relationships with trees itself. And for me personally, I've had experiences where before I even heard about we could call it neuropathic connection between trees that run underground and how they fire to each other and connect. I actually had an experience to where I was doing that sort of breath style, and I had a flash of light and went into the tree and saw the etheric versions of trees, of how trees are just pure light within themselves, and each one has their own personality.
Wow. And it's funny, like looking back 3 years ago, if someone was explaining this to me now, I'd have said you're bonkers. But I, through my own experience and knowing, and that shifts in consciousness or realities or whatever, this stuff is really real. But you gotta just not only practice it, but also not be attached to a specific outcome as well, right? Like not get lost in the seeking of the experience. If that makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah, allow things to come to you, right? Be the receiver of the experience. Of course, that's your intention of what you want to do, but allow the experience to guide you onto whatever it is that's supposed to be taught within that moment in time.
Yeah. And so with the metaphysical effect, you also mentioned about um, manifesting with the breath. Do you just want to touch on that again? So how does that work?
Well, there's many ways, of course, the organ breathing. Let's say someone wants to breathe into more opportunity. We consistently, and this is great to do in real time, because the breath works and is in the present moment all the time, although it is echoed throughout all of existence in the past, present, and future. A way that you can utilize manifestations, whether it is that you're looking for more opportunities or anything like that, is anytime you see someone open up a door, whether it's a car door, whether it's your front door, whether it's anything like that, whether it's in a movie, whether you read it in a book, every time you see that or watch that or hear it, tell yourself in your mind with an extended exhale that you're breathing life into more doors opening in your personal life for more opportunities or better. Or, of course, you can make it more specific of saying that you're breathing life into more doors opening to making more money. You're breathing life into more doors opening to meeting more people and opportunities for ... and utilizing that specific type of manifestation to bring in more opportunity for your life. Because as you know, people correlate doors opening and closing to opportunity in their mental, right? We say
Yeah.
when one door opens, another door closes. So now you're bringing that mental impression into the physical via the spiritual essence of your breath and allowing that to echo into reality, however that may manifest for you specifically.
Yeah. And I feel like this is kind of more potent than just thoughts alone, because it's kind of like an extra push, just consciously breathing, and because you're also thinking of it even more on a deeper level. So that makes a lot of sense.
And you're seeing it. So it's the trifold state of reality, right? You
Yeah.
got body, mind, spirit, spirit, mind, and body. So you're utilizing those three, compounding them, and then forcing your will into it to allow it to come forth.
Yeah. So I've heard, I can't remember the terminology. Is it breatharian or
Breatharianism.
what is that exactly?
That's what I was talking about earlier, is chronic living, basically being empty most of the time and living off of, some people say breath, some people say chi, some people say ki, some people say biophotons, some people say orgone energy. All of them are representing the same thing, and that's just breatharianism is a modern way of saying of living life without dense foods to a point. And there's levels to it, of course. Like I said, you don't want to just go straight into being a carnivore and then trying to be breatharian. You want to slowly yield yourself off of those things and learn how to chronically live.
And
And
why is
my breath guy, Devon, he doesn't, I'm not going to put him in a box of breatharianism,
Yeah.
but he himself was on liquids only for 6 years.
Wow.
And that that is breatharianism. That's a level of 𝙂𝙪𝙚.
Yeah.
And 𝙂𝙪𝙚, the Chinese word for breatharianism. And within 𝙂𝙪𝙚, you have 3 levels, and one of those levels is drinking liquids only.
Liquids only. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, just for the record, this is like, you know, for everyone listening, this isn't medical advice or official or whatever.
No medical advice.
But why is it that people, you know, say being a meat eater for myself and then just going all liquids? Why is it not dangerous, but why is it's not really a good idea? Is it because in some way our mind still identifies with the ego and the body? Or is it a kind of mixture of chemical things as well, in your opinion?
It can be both of those. Both of those play a factor, because belief, of course, the placebo effect and the nocebo effect, whether you believe it's going to work or not. Just like we'll take Sprite or ginger ale, they're inherently not good for you, right? But when you're sick, when someone's sick, they can believe so much that Sprite and ginger ale are good for them, and then your sore throat will go away for some reason, right? So your belief in that thing is, of course, going to represent the outcome, and your waning off of those densities are going to play a factor as well.
Yeah, the placebo effect is really powerful, in my opinion, and that's why, like, you know, I'm trying to be more and more mindful of where I put my energy, where I put my attention on, especially things like the news, because, like you said, in a way, it kind of manifests in your, not only in your body but around you and stuff as well. So
yeah, of course. Technically, you are the creator of your life. So whether you're doing it consciously, well, one of the things that everybody's supposed to learn in life is how to manifest consciously. Because everybody manifests unconsciously, whether they know it or not, and whether they want to take responsibility for it or not. Our life is our responsibility to take responsibility for 100% of the way. And so when you're able to do that, you can in turn shift your life into taking responsibility and breathing life. In Alchemy Breath, we like to say, what are you breathing life into? And breathing life into things with intention to create the life you want or that you need, whatever it is, you know.
Yeah. And, you know, some people...
Hey, Kyle.
I guess I wouldn't have believed this before being on this journey, but for people out there, it's like when you look at a chair, that chair was an idea and someone's thought before it even became into existence. So, like, manifestation is real. There's just obviously levels to it, I guess, or...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It was. And plus everything under the sun, nothing under the sun is new, right? So by knowing that, you can in turn know that all the groundwork is there and build off of that groundwork of nature, whatever it is that you want to, you know, because right now you manifested this podcast, right? You manifested this life that you want to live, whether you know it or not. You manifested you and your wife. Everybody manifests the specific life that they want, whether, like I said, whether it's consciously or you did it unconsciously. And some people don't even realize that they're manifesting, right? Some people just think about things that they want and then it happens and they don't even acknowledge that it happened, but it happened. And that's manifestation.
Yes. All the opposite, the manifesting negative, negative things in life.
That would be the nocebo effect, right? Like your constant attention onto the negatives of life will in turn breathe life into those negatives. And since the breath itself is magnetism, you're magnetizing and attracting those negative things to your being.
Yeah. Which is why I touched on the news, because the last time I checked, there was no positive news on the news. So, yeah. Any other effects of breath work, whether it be metaphysical, physical? I know we touched on manifestation. We touched on the ability to absorb, to take in food less. Any echo breathing? Do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, so Alchemy Breath is really catered to utilizing the breath in everyday life. So we've only talked about those couple, but Alchemy Breath goes deep into how to help people with deviated septums, reset their septums so they can breathe more clearly. It can go into emotional balance because your emotions are connected to your breath, whether it's anger, whether it's anxiety. And actually, one thing I'll speak on is empathy. Empaths themselves, a subconscious thing that they do to pick up on the emotions of others is actually connect with other people's breath itself. And you'll see this, any empaths that are out there that watch this, anytime you feel like you're taking in a lot from somebody, become conscious and aware of your breathing, and you'll see that you are breathing in and out at the same time as that person, that you're connecting with in that moment. And so a way to filter out those things is to change the breath pattern. So you can in turn walk through your day with more strength and fortitude and not just have to wait until you get off of work. And most empaths wash with water to remove all that excess stuff from the day. But now you can utilize the breath in everyday life to filter out those things that you no longer need. And so breath work itself can go into many different aspects of, I've helped people who have had sleeping problems, who've themselves had to put in earplugs at night because although it wasn't loud, they just had loudness within them and around them from cars and everything. And teaching them breath work to get into a more parasympathetic state and homeostasis to where after that breath work or after that breath session, they haven't ever had to utilize earplugs again. Or even with some soldiers, some decorated soldiers that I got to have the honor of breathing with, them having nose problems and having to have multiple surgeries on their nose, and just doing a couple sessions with them and them telling me that they haven't ever been able to breathe that clear in their life. And they've been utilizing and continuing it since, and they stopped mouth breathing themselves. And actually this one specific guy, he was forced to breathe through his nose because of his mouth, because of how bad his nose was.
Yeah.
And after a couple breath sessions, he can now utilize his nose and breathe through that consistently. So the breath, the way that I like to think about it, like when I talked about animism, is to know that the breath is with you 24/7 every day of your life, no matter what you're doing. It has known you from the beginning when you first came out of the womb and you exhaled, because the first breath is the exhale, and it will be with you to the last exhale when you leave this world. So it knows all of your thoughts, your fears, your anxieties, your triumphs, your greatnesses, your achievements, everything. And it hasn't judged you or anything, but it has unconditionally loved and given to you the entire time. So knowing that, you can in turn utilize it wherever you are in life, no matter what you're doing.
Yeah, amazing, man. No, it's great. Yeah, and when we spoke about echo breathing, that's generally helped me a lot, just being consciously breathing. And you also spoke about a little bit about breathing into that inner child and sort of bringing him back and having a more, I guess, conscious, present playtime with my kids, bringing that inner child back and stuff. Like it really has helped me. I guess getting on more of a my personal level, something that I've noticed lately is when I'm doing breath work, and I try to do it every day, first 15 minutes of the morning, I try to do it. Me and the wife will switch off. I don't know whether it's an energy block, but I really struggle sometimes. It's funny that you mentioned about nasal breathing. I really struggle to breathe out of my snout. It gets clogged up. Do you think that's some kind of blocked energy?
It could be something in your cardiovascular system up in the top up here that's blocking it, and from underutilizing your nose throughout your life. So one that I'll give you is that when you're doing your breath in the rising is on the inhale. I'll take this off for a second.
We'll talk about that soon.
On your inhale, you're going to want to tilt your head back. And then on your exhale, you're going to want to bring your head forward. And by bringing your head back, you're opening up those passages down into your lower abdomen. And then on your exhale, you're embodying that ease of breathing. And you'll see that over time, that'll help open up your nasal passages and move out any of those blockages that are there from compression of over time.
Right.
And echo breathing, I'll go into echo breathing. Echo breathing is a great way to, it's technically a mental breath work. So it's a great way to exercise your mind throughout the day, no matter what you're echoing into, to, of course, master the mind and breathe life into the parts of yourself that you want to embody more so of. And whether that's breathing into your child self to heal your child self and bring him or her more forward so they can be present, safe, protected, and in harmony in your everyday life. Or if it's, let's say you had a moment where you were on your top game, whether you were in basketball, whether you were you were in an intellectual mind state, breathing into those spaces and embodying those energies more and more. And that echoes into your life, i.e. echo breathing.
Yeah.
And utilizing that every day. And technically, when people think about memories, right, we think of memories and images. Everybody does echo breathing. So this is, again, utilizing that in a conscious way.
Yeah, it's a great tool, And yeah, we chatted with she's in the chat now, Camille, about trauma, childhood trauma. This could be it's a great tool to use as well, you know.
Absolutely. That's a great way to heal any leaks or anything that has gone unhealed, any emotional bodies from that time. It's a great way to go back and look at anything that may have been overlooked as well, even if you think that you have healed it all, to go back and see if you have any subconscious reactions to whether it's colors, whether it's the eyes of a person, whether it's micro expressions and everything like that, to fully integrate your experience and be fully embodied into yourself.
Yeah. Brilliant. I did have a question, but it's escaped my head. So if you want to keep on talking,
you'll remember. You'll remember.
That's what it was. So for people watching this, I don't know about you with your journey, but I really struggled with meditation. I had such an aversion to meditation. I was like, hell no, like I'm not going to sit down and do nothing. Right. And yeah, I'm not like that anymore. But for those who might be kind of at that stage of wanting to meditate but finding it really hard, but a
breath journey.
Not breath journey specifically, how would they start? Have you got anything recommended for beginners, absolute novices who've never done it before?
Absolutely. I would say find yourself a breath guide, first of all, that'd be willing to work with you for at least 3 months so they can cater to your needs specifically. If you are unable to afford anybody, then I would say, of course, doing online meditations or breath sessions. I always shout out Devon, the Black Airbender. Definitely tap into his breath sessions online. They're some of my favorites, and anybody else that your intuition or your internal self feels guided to go do that. And to also remember that your soul has done this many times before, that your mind has been here many times before, that your breath is an echo of all the lives that you've ever lived. So to embody that strength and knowledge of knowing that you've done this before, that you're supported, that you know the ease and the feeling that you're seeking, and breathe life into that and ground yourself into that truth before you start. And wherever your mind goes, wherever you're going, allow your breath to be the lead on that situation.
I love it. And finally, my last question that I've got, and I know there's a lot of questions in the chat, we're going to go through these at the end, but the last, I guess, last question, if you had one message to the world, what would you say?
If I had one message to the world?
Yeah, I know this is it's a lot. This is a big question. Regarding breathwork, I'll make it easier for you.
I would say breathe life into your ladder, into your peer progression, and allow that to reflect onto how you interact and love and treat others in your everyday life. Allow the breath to guide you no matter where you are, no matter where you go, and continue to bring your authentic, pure, genuine, truest expression of self into every space and place that you're in, because you are the embodiment of Source itself. And by being that embodiment, you in turn will raise the vibration of your community. You will be revered as a sage, and you will forever be protected and guided no matter where you go.
Lovely. Feel myself getting a bit emotional. I'm sure I'm not the only one. Before we read any questions in the chat, is there anything else you want to talk about or add, Jules?
No, that's pretty much it for me, brother. Is there any more questions that you have for me?
There's no, but there's a lot in the chat, so I'll read them. So Tracy's asking, I wonder if you have worked with the breath in past lives.
I have.
So there you go,
I have
Tracy.
worked in the breath in past lives.
Sorry guys, I'm just scrolling down. People are loving what you've been saying, by the way, Jules.
Oh, and she said thank you. She said, I love sharing this with people who feel overwhelmed with where they start. Psychology is taught that 3 deep breaths can change your brainwave state 100%. And the deeper you get into your breath session, you can actually induce theta waves by will. So about 15 minutes after all those thoughts go away, that's why most people have a hard time in meditation, is because their subconscious is still filtering out the day. And so they're replaying a lot of the day and filtering through all those things. But as soon as you get past that 15 minutes, you can actually induce a theta wave state for a deeper subconscious rewiring.
Tracy's asking, where are you located?
I'm located in Wilmington, North Carolina, East Coast.
East Coast. If you see any questions, feel free to read them out and just scroll. How do you feel about the Calm app? Is that the meditation app, Eric?
Yeah, I don't know if I've heard of the Calm app.
Yeah, I think it's like I don't know, I've never actually used it, but it's quite a popular app for, I believe it's guided meditations.
I may have seen it before, but anything that has to do with meditations and guided meditations, I definitely support, because we need more of that. And of course, always follow your intuition onto who will best guide you in those moments.
Yeah, if that's one thing that stuck with me since we've chatted, is intuition is huge. Do you actually want to touch on intuition a little bit? What it means to you?
Yeah. I allow my heart to guide me via intuition, and I've allowed my breath to be that guide to my heart, because technically the deeper you go into knowing yourself, which is also a part of the journey, you'll come to learn that your heart is actually where your soul resides. And your soul, of course, is one with the creator. So when you go to your heart, which is where your soul resides, and you allow that intuition to guide you, then you will forever not be guided into learning how to not deny the intuition. Because of course, a lot of people know their intuition and they listen to the intuition, but they don't follow the intuition. So breathing life into following your intuition without question, and continuously doing that, you'll just start to see that you just act. You get into a flow state a lot quicker because you're intuitively following your soul's calling, and your heart is guiding the way to that.
Yeah. And with my own personal experience, I actually met Cecilia, my wife, on an online video game called RuneScape. Don't know if you've heard of it, but great game. And my heart knew, like, I need to go over and meet this woman. Like, I felt like I knew I loved her, right? But the mind was like it just didn't make sense. I was like, what? Like, you live in England? Like, how's that going to work? And just follow your intuition, guys. Like, it didn't let me down. And I believe that happened for a reason, because it's led me on this path. And I'm still learning a little bit about twin flames, but I think my wife is my twin flame. Yeah, it's beautiful. I know I said I'm done with questions, but I do actually have 2 more. Can you talk about your hat and your glasses?
Oh, Yeah, of course. So this is a pyramid. It was designed by Dr. Fred Bell. He was a NASA scientist, a physicist, a philosopher, and a man many years, many eons ahead of his time. And this is technically one of them's pure gold plated, and the other one's Oregon plated. So it is utilizing pyramid or the octahedron shape to bring more life force energy into my body. It also blocks out EMF and ELF radiation and is a way to structure your thoughts as well. So your thoughts can be more pure and internal instead of, consciousness is a lot, people are a lot up here. So it'll allow you to bring yours internally to yourself. And then these glasses are tensor eyewears. It's specifically built, I built these myself.
Oh, did
But
you?
I did. Yeah.
Nice.
They're specifically, thank you, brother. They're specifically built to the sacred qubit of 144 hertz for deeper physical healing. So for the healing of my eyes and of course, blocking blue light and everything like that. So they basically, they're photon structures. They structure photons.
And do you make them for like people, or was it just a one-off kind of thing for yourself, project for yourself?
I do commissions sometimes, yeah, depending upon what style and the in-depth that people want and how much time I have on my hands.
Yeah, well, shout out to Dools. Make sure you follow him if you want some glasses. I want a pair. I think they look cool, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If you don't get these, definitely check out my link in the bio for crystal lenses. Anybody who loves crystals, I'm an affiliate with My Crystal Lenses, and that's a line under Devon that sells crystal lenses, of course. So they currently have citrine, amethyst, emerald, and kyanite lenses that are awesome. Yeah, they're super cool.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Mama, would I be able to buy a pair of copper glasses from you for my son?
Absolutely. Yeah, send me a DM and we can get the dimensions of his eyes so we can build those for you.
And if anyone hasn't got any more questions, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at the Eternal Breath, and same with YouTube. I'm currently still coming out with subliminals at the Eternal Breath as well, or link is in the bio.
Cool. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe to his channel, guys. And yeah, lastly, just thanks for giving me your time again, man. It's been a pleasure. I'd definitely love to have you on again and pick your brains about more stuff. I can tell you're a guy with lots of knowledge, and yeah, just thanks once again.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you for having me on. Thank you for offering, and thank you to every spirit and soul who has joined the Breathful Talk with us today.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you. And Jill, stay on the line. I'll end the live and then I'll give you a quick call just to say thank you offline.
Cool.
All right, guys. Thanks, guys.